And here we are. Another Saturday morning. We got a bunch of comments already. First one, our friend Ben from down there in Louisiana. Over there in Louisiana, I guess it is. And then I Know Buddy. Good morning, Richard from Lincoln, Nebraska. Absolutely. Over there on the X platform. Good afternoon from Liverpool. Just getting my new Mac Mini set up. There's our friend Matthew Pate. We see him all the time on Facebook groups. So, Liverpool, have you ever been to the cavern where the Beatles first started playing and everything? Did you ever go there? I would love, if I was Liverpool, I would absolutely go to the cavern. I don't care who was playing. I would just have to go there, as iconic as that is. Let me get this set up. This isn't set up right. Setting up Stream Deck. So it's the right copy, so I can do this. This. What the heck? Well, that's weird. Why isn't that working? Oh, it doesn't look like. Let me close this and see if that helps. Let me see if that helps. No. Why is that not working? Anyway, the thumbs up aren't working. I don't have the... I don't understand. Let's do it. Can we do it manually? Let me see how that works. There's a way to do it. High power. There's another way to do it. Here it is there. That's weird. It says I'm on the beta. I don't think so. No, I'm not on the beta. For eCam Live, I'm not sure why. Let me try just to... Cam Live. Quit eCam Live. Oh, I'm sorry. Cancel. No, I don't want to do that. I want to... Oh, you know what? Stream Deck. Does it work now? No, I want to quit Stream Deck. Quit Stream Deck, and then we'll relaunch it. I trigger those things. Now let's see if it works. It's always something, isn't it? We lost power this morning. Nope, it's not working. I wonder why. Anyway, I can't trigger any of that stuff. There's a way to do it live on the Mac. Let me see what's going on here. That. Everyone. I don't know. It's been too long. We don't need it. That's fine. We don't need it. Good morning from Montreal, from Gary. Can it not working? It's not being triggered like it's supposed to be by eCam Live. I mean, by the Stream Deck. For some odd reason. The icon is there. That's not working. The icon is there. It's just not working. Let me see what happens when I choose this. Yeah, thumbs up. Supposed to be balloons. Applause. I don't know. It's just not working. It's just not working. Let me pull this out of the way so I can see the menu. All right, we'll just have to do without it, and I'll have to figure out what's going on. Am I using the... Well, whatever. Good afternoon from Brazil. Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly right. So we lost power at 8 o'clock this morning because it's very cold and windy here. And there's been warnings that you could lose power. So we lost power at 8 o'clock. So I'm out in the garage getting my generator working and all that. So we got generator working, came inside, everything, the internet's working and stuff. And then the power came back on, so I turned the generator off and turned the circuit breakers back on. Maybe that has something to do with it not working. Because anyway, I can't boot it now. Exactly. Good morning from New Jersey. Well, the hand gestures work. They are not working. They are not working in Ecamm Live. Now, the other weird thing is, yeah, I'm on the normal version of Ecamm Live. Maybe I turned a preference on. Hold on, let me check something here. I'll check the preferences. General. Play app sounds, animated reactions. Okay, account, that's going stream size, high quality video mode. No problem. Recording, I'm recording everything. Destinations, I get destinations, video. Audio. Interview. Play ring chimes. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why it's not working. It should be working. I've rebooted Ecamm Live a few times, and it's not. Let me just see. Thumbs up. Let me see. Stream Deck system website, Command Hub, Ecamm Live. Well, anyway, it is not. Let me see if there's a new. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with it. We'll have to just deal with not having thumbs up and stuff today. But there's a lot to be talking about. Cam Live XL, copy. It's not working. It broke somehow. Somehow it broke. That's all right. We got other things to talk about. Good evening from Denmark. Hello from Italy. Absolutely. I have often been known to fix computers with a large hammer. I maybe fix a Windows computer. Did you apply a Stream Deck update in the last week? I did not. I did not. It's just with Ecamm. How quickly do you think Apple will issue a bug fix or update for Creator Studio? Let me show you that. Where is my... Empty scene. Here we go. Now we're going to do it. I don't know why the camera was even there. So you already got an update. We already got an update. Let me put in my camera so you can see me talking. So this is the update. Logic Pro, both for both versions of Logic Pro, were updated 12.0.1. Let me just change this. Custom. 12.0.1, so we already got our first update. And there's a couple of things about the updates for Final Cut Pro and Creator Studio. So Creator Studio and the standalone version of Final Cut Pro, they have the same code base, okay? Same code base. So let's just say 96% are exactly the same. But the subscription version has more things in it. It has hooks to Apple servers where it verifies your subscription. That's in the app. It has extra templates. It has new things for Final Cut Pro. So the subscription version, the base code is the same as the standalone version, but it's not 100% the same. So it's different because of the subscription stuff. From Romania. Thank you for tuning in from Romania. Lost audio? Audio is gone? Is it back? I don't know why it was. Oh, because I switched. It was turned off when I switched. Maybe the problem is on Ecamm's server side. I don't think so, because we're streaming to 3 platforms. Let me go up here and look. Let me see. Yeah, we're streaming to YouTube, Facebook Live, and our friends over there on X. Hello, absolutely. Has anyone had issues with the new Final Cut Pro 12, like slower or crashes? Now, you have to be specific. Are you talking about FCP CS, Creator Studio, or just regular FCP? So I have not used it enough. But I have seen reports of some issues. So this is an interesting question. So does that mean it must be connected to the internet? I think it does. I think that if you're using, this is a big deal to me. I think if you're using the Creator Studio, you have to be connected to the internet, at least initially, because it connects to Apple servers to verify you have an active subscription. I don't see how it cannot be connected to the internet in order to use those apps. I've got a question into Apple. They have not answered it yet. But how else could they verify your subscription if it's active unless it's connected to the internet? And people have come back with errors, with at least with Logic. Let me see, where's that Logic one? Logic. Logic is around here somewhere. Let me see. I save these things just so we have them. Well, let me go over here. I'll go over here. I'll go over to our Facebook group. Let me close this down. Go to Facebook groups. Final Cut TV and radio is the best place. to follow along, although that one's good too. Hold on one second. Here we go. And I know I copied this. Let me just see. Hold on a second and I'll get that for you. Isn't that interesting? Well, then we'll try the other one. Hold on one second. We'll go to the Apple Creator Studio community. We have over 900 members there at this point. Here we go. And we will do this. Put it up here. There it is. And we will do this. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I don't know why. This is definitely goofy today. It's just not working the way it should be. So, what the heck does this mean? The application cannot be used because the App Store authentication failed or no network is available. So, no network is available. It looks to me like you have to have a network connection to use Apple Creator Studio. Doesn't it? Isn't that what that warning says? Isn't that what that warning says? Also, I think you need more RAM and faster chips now to handle the new Final Cut Pro. You mean Final Cut Pro 12? I think maybe a little bit more. So Final Cut Pro regular, yeah. If it's true, I don't like that. I don't like it either. Because if you remember what happened to Adobe when their authentication servers went down, nobody could use their software. None of the editors around the world could use the software. Happened a year or two ago. So if you need to make that connection when you first start the app up, internet, you have to have internet. It has to authenticate you. Then it lets you go. That's a problem. That's a real problem for me. Could try using Little Snitch to try to block it from calling home, but then your app won't work. Then the app won't work. I am on a subscription trial, and as I was finishing with Keynote this morning, I received one of those prompts, "Are you enjoying Keynote? I hope Apple isn't going down this road." They are going down that road. I see pop-ups all the time. I have not subscribed. I downloaded Apple Creator Studio for Keynote, Pages, and Numbers updates. I don't want those pop-ups constantly bombarding me. That's very chintzy of Apple if they're doing that. So Milcore Picture says, I don't think you need to be connected to the internet. How do they verify you have an active subscription if you're not connected to the internet? How do they know when your subscription expires? If you go month to month, how does Apple know that this is a legitimate version of Final Cut Pro that can be run? It has to be an internet connection. It would expose it when it tries to connect. Oh, no, I realize that. Apple Creator Studio has an Instagram profile now. So look, the Apple Creator Studio, it's really not aimed at professionals. It's not. It's aimed at influencers, college students, people on YouTube, Even the descriptions now, they have a little description. Logic Pro, make music on the subscription one. It's not marketed. They're not marketing this to Hollywood, for example, or filmmakers. It's not. The old versions where people argued that they weren't. This certainly is not. Yes, so here's this is confusing. Once again, Apple has not explained this very well. Did you notice the standalone pages, keynote numbers version show a pop-up saying the outdated point, they point to the CS versions? You can use the Creator Studio versions of pages, keynote, and numbers without subscribing. But you need to download the Apple Creator Studio app and access those apps, and you can launch them safely without subscribing. Apple is not going to subscribe to anything without your permission. We're going to just do this when the new thumbs up. I'm just going to do it manually. Let's see if it's working yet. Nope, it's not working. We're just going to keep doing this. Thumbs up, thumbs up. So it's confusing. There should be a big, pop-up here. You can use these for free in Apple Creator Studio, those three. Now, if you launch Keynote, don't select one of the new premium templates. If you select one of the new premium templates, it's going to ask you if you want to subscribe because you can't access the premium content without subscribing. I also received prompts to upgrade to Creative Studio when using the regular Pages app. What's next? Ads? I expect better from Apple. I do too. Somebody's in charge that's not used to the way we deal with Apple. Yes, the iWorks app always asks you to move to subscription, which is after the 27th time is super annoying. Apple, it's super annoying. Stop this pop-up nonsense. See, I don't have this with Final Cut Pro. I'm on the standalone version. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Lost audio again when Logic Panel came up. I must have that turned off. I'll keep an eye on that. Thank you for letting me know. I've seen folks posting that error message for Logic in a couple of forums. Yes, maybe it's only Logic or something. I don't know. I have a question into Apple. If you need an internet connection, I asked them, and twice they've said, no, all the AI features are on the device. That's not what I asked. I asked if you need an internet connection for subscription confirmation. That's what I want to know, because I haven't seen that mentioned anywhere in the notes. You need an internet connection in order to run these apps. They have to verify somehow. I just presume it's with an internet connection. Now, if it only need internet connection when you first pop up, when you first subscribe, that's different. That's okay. And maybe they have something in the app with a timer, 30-day subscription, 1-year subscription, and at the end, the app itself will make you resubscribe. But I don't know how they're doing that. Let's get clarification somewhere. I and others get that error message when we have perfectly good internet connections. If an internet connection is required, that's complete nonsense. It utterly, absolutely is complete nonsense, because they didn't tell us that in advance before you subscribed. I agree. I'm glad I backed up the iWorks suite with my Final Cut Pro backup. Me too. I am not going to subscribe at the moment, as I am only using a fraction of the options in my purchased version of Final Cut Pro, and I still haven't installed my versions of Motion and Logic Pro. I am a teacher. Well, you get a really good discount then. Update to standalone versions of iWork apps says the generic bug fixes and performance improvements. How is a nag screen? That's a nag screen. It's very weird. Hunter S. Thompson predicted that corporations and governments would slowly, over time, move us all to the rental economy so no one can own anything and they rake in more money. I understand that, Ben. And that would not surprise me 5 years from now. It seems like Apple is easing us into that. Just, no. You have 100% feature parity between these two versions. Slowly pushing this. It's okay. Listen, I understand if that's the way software is going to work in the future. Everything's going to be subscription based. $12.99 a month is very, very reasonable price for all those things. And they're easing us. No. You have feature parity. You have feature parity. So we'll see what happens. I am not against the subscription that they've brought out as long as two things happen. Number one is you keep updating Final Cut Pro with feature parity with the CS version of Final Cut Pro. Number two, you don't raise the subscription price like you did with Apple TV and other ones. If you raise it in 5 years, I don't care as much. I don't want next year, we have to raise it to $15.99. We have to raise it to $19.99. That's complete and utter BS. Especially when Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve is still available for $2.99 standalone. But anyway, I don't mind the subscription because the standalone version is still available. If the standalone version, you can buy the standalone version of Final Cut Pro right now, and Logic and Compressor and Motion. Right now you can buy them standalone, no subscription fees. The fact that you can buy them standalone means Apple is going to continue to support them with parallel features from Creator Studio. They're going to be feature parity 100% or close to 100%. Not content. They're going to have premium content that you got to subscribe to. But feature for feature, they should be the same for a year or 2 years or 3 years because they're selling a brand new version right now. They can't sell a brand new version in 2026 and then 6 months down the road say, no, you have to subscribe to get all these, to get these new features. That wouldn't make any sense. It would make people mad. So I'm surprised Apple went the extra subscription content route. I did not think they wanted to compete with Canva and others. For me, all apps work without internet connection. How did they verify that you have a subscription? They're verifying somewhere, somehow. That's interesting because they haven't answered. Apple's Final Cut Pro form, a couple of people have pointed out when downloading extra subscription content creates some duplicates of content they already have. Yeah, if you get it by the month and you download this extra content, it goes somewhere, I presume. Well, it's probably internal to the app. The two apps are not 100% exact. Base code, yes, but the subscription version has extra stuff in it. It has extra content, titles for Final Cut Pro, generators, stuff that this version does not have. So that makes the two apps different. Base code, yes, but not the extra content. Same with Keynote and stuff. Hello from Jamaica. How you doing? I guess Apple learned their lesson when they killed off Final Cut Studio and Server. Oh my God, that was a disaster. And killing Final Cut Server suddenly left a lot of us in a really nasty situation. I remember that. I was working for a company that used that. Great performance Final Cut Pro 12. I don't see any need to get more powerful hardware. Not yet. I think we're doing okay. With new features in Final Cut Pro, I can only use visual search as I never use music in my videos and do not speak English in most of my videos. Visual search does, however, work quite well when you look for clips. Yes, it does. Plus, so far, the transcript search works for me. I don't know. I just know the other day my computer was turned off and I was in error with that internet and it worked properly, but I heard from other people they have problems. So the question I have is, number one, I presume you need internet connection to start this subscription. Number two, if it checks every time you log on to one of the apps that are in the Creator Studio, what happens if you don't have internet connection? Where did that error come from? We saw the error with Logix. It said you had to have internet connection. Why? I mean, that's an issue if that has to happen. I think the Logic error message is a bug. Okay, that's fine. I'll probably hear back from them first of the week. But how do they verify if I subscribe initially on the internet and so they somehow tag that version of Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, okay, this version is verified to have a subscription. Maybe there's something in there that keeps track of how many days your subscription is good for in the app itself, and once you get close to the end, it may start shooting up, hey, you got to resubscribe. Hey, you got to resubscribe. Do you want to do that now? That would be okay. But constantly checking the internet? No. They could be dropping an expiring cryptologic signature at purchase. That's what I just said, but not in those elegant words. Would only need internet to update the signature. Very cool. It seems like it would be annoying to try to keep updating two versions of Final Cut Pro for Apple. So once again, Matthew, the base code is the same. So they're not updating two versions. Let's just say 90%. They're exactly the same for 90%. I'm just going to use 90%. It's a nice number. So they don't have to update two versions. This one and this one are exactly the same, this base code. But this one requires subscription confirmation. It has extra content in it for Final Cut. It has extra content in it for pages, for Keynote, templates, and a bunch of extra stuff. This one is more bloated than this one, Standalone. So they're not the same. Base code, yes, but these add-on things that are added on top of this one make these two not exactly the same. The text search, I looked for all instances of my dogs barking. It has no idea what wolf means. I think it's English only, not canine language. It's a shame that transcribe to caption only works in English so far. They've been, excuse me, I'm sure they're going to fix that, but that's just the rollout. Didn't they say they were adding more languages like a year ago? Never happened. I think the OS has to adopt the languages, then Final Cut Pro can't. I don't know. Listen, we got captions, the rudimentary captions they gave us in November of 2024. Here it is, 16, 17 months later, And it's still the same. They've abandoned the captions. They're just, that's all we're going to give you. These basic rudimentary captions that hardly anybody uses. I thought for sure they were going to fix those and make them subtitles and format them and stuff, but they haven't so far. So, coding expiration dates in the apps themselves will be super easy to do. From what I see, I think that's what they're doing. Okay, that would make more sense and make me feel better. That would make more sense and make me feel better. As long as they're not checking in every time you launch. Extra content is gone in FCP CS version. That's the bug I have. Really? Really? It's titles, generators, and transitions. And they're marked. They're marked. Thank you, Apple, for doing this. Actually marked as new content in the browser. There's little stars or some kind of color or something. Just got a YouTube advertisement for Apple Creator Studio. Go figure. I get that a lot too as well. I don't mind that commercial. Mac Whisper works flawlessly in dozens languages to generate captions. Very cool. Having to update two versions will also not make any sense economically, as you will have to work on two different code bases with the problems that would give in fine-tuning and finding errors. So once again, I think the base code is exactly the same. I think they just copy whatever they get. They can add new features to the base code. They just make a copy of it and pull it over to this one. And I think on this version, they add code on top. Here's some extra code for subscription confirmation. Here's the extra stuff, the extra titles. Here's the extra generators. Here's the extra templates on this one only. But the base code, the operating code of the app, probably identical. So, but you're right. This is why I said I expect at some point there's going to be a bug fix for the CS version, just for the extra stuff. Just for, hey, there's an error when signing in, there's an error when authenticating your subscription, blah, blah, blah. On this version, doesn't affect the standalone version. So I think there'll be a bug fix for this version with extra things that doesn't affect this version. I think that's possible. Post that issue on the Apple FCP user forum. Mac Whisper can also detect speakers. I have that. I just updated it. Both versions of Final Cut have code mode, but they have two updates, and you have both on your computer. One doesn't overwrite the other. Okay. That's one of the questions I have. So I've been updating Final Cut Pro X10 since version 1 on June 21st, 2011. Been updating it. Make a backup copy before I update. Update it. Make a backup copy. I have backup copies of almost every single time Final Cut's updated. I am going to keep both versions of Final Cut Pro if and when I subscribe. I'm not going to delete my standalone version. What happens if the servers in Final Cut go down somehow and you can't authenticate your version of Final Cut and I can't edit? Baloney. I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to keep it right there in my folder. Well, right now that's what I'm using. Right now that's what I'm using. So yeah, the blue dots for the extra content plus the content is gone. Was there before. I do not need it, though, because I need those features in the other apps. And it still works. That's bizarre. So you're saying are you launching the right version of Final Cut Pro? Okay, it wouldn't be in your other one. Also, on a side note, video update, Pro video formats just got an update right after Final Cut Pro 12. Did anyone ever determine if you can open a project from CS in the standalone version? You can. You can. The libraries and the projects are exchangeable. However, if you update a CS version in standalone Final Cut Pro, if you used any of the extra content, it's not going to be available in the standalone version of Final Cut Pro. And I think there's just going to be a placeholder there. Just a placeholder title or a placeholder transition or a placeholder generator. But all your edits should be exactly the same, hopefully. Hopefully. Let's check on the cats. Just one. Just one. She was a little suspicious when I put that camera in there this morning. That's Lucy. Little bit suspicious. She's actually awake. It's interesting because Stream Deck is working for this, but the thumbs up and stuff are not working. I'll have to see if there's an update for it. I'm not going to do it now, obviously. Let me see if I can do it. I can't do it manually. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. So to answer your question, Matthew, yes, you can open a project from CS in the standalone version, but it's not going to have any of the extra content, obviously. It's not going to have that. So, cheers. We have a guest coming on in about 11, 12 minutes to talk about Creator Studio. So here's the thing. I'm positive I like the Creator Studio. I like that it exists. If Apple maintains that price point, that's a win for a lot of people. So here's one of the deals. I'm going to wait until I get a new Mac Mini Pro, probably what I'm going to buy. I don't think I'm going to buy the MacBook Pro, the M5. I'm going to wait for the M5 Mac Mini Pro. I like my M4 Mac Mini Pro so much that hopefully Apple will give me a good price on a trade-in, and then I'll get the M5 Mac Mini Pro. I love this Mac. This is a fantastic, fantastic Macintosh. I presume there's going to be an increase in power, performance, whatever. So when I get the Mac Mini Pro, hopefully Apple will give me the 3 months extra to try it out. At that point, I would go ahead and subscribe, try it out. But I'm going to go on the month-to-month version. And I'll tell you why. First off, it's easy to go 1 month and then off 1 month. 1 month and then off 1 month. You can go 1 month. Suppose you sign up on April the 15th. You sign up April the 15th, it's good till May the 15th. Then you unsubscribe. 2 weeks go by. You need it again. Resubscribe at that point, but you have a 2-week place that you didn't subscribe, so that's 2 weeks. If you do that 8 times throughout the year. If you unsubscribe, yeah, it's a little bit of a pain, but it's easy on the phone. I'm just saying, if you unsubscribe 8 times for 2 weeks each time, it's the same price as a yearly subscription. But, or you can say a month. If you don't subscribe for 2 months, it's the same price as a yearly subscription. If you're not going to use it every day, a month-to-month might make more sense as long as you keep on top of the subscription and unsubscribe when you don't need it. So suppose you said, I'm only going to need Final Cut Pro 6 months out of the year on the CS version because I have the standalone version. So the CS version if you did it month by month for 6 months, it's a lot cheaper than the yearly. The yearly is 2 months discount. So 2 months unsubscribe, 10 months subscribe. It's exactly the same as the yearly, but you have more options. You can lower that down even lower by canceling your subscription for a month. You can cancel it for a week. You can cancel it for 2 weeks. You can cancel it for a month. Whatever you want. It's very simple to do on the phone. So initially, I would probably just go get 3 months when I get the new Mac and subscribe to 1 month at some point. One could subscribe and immediately unsubscribe to lock in 1 month only. That's exactly why I like Apple's subscriptions. It's simple. It's simple to do. That's exactly correct. So you subscribe. I would wait 1 day and then go on your Apple phone settings and unsubscribe. It won't, you'll have the full month that you paid for. And the month can start on the 15th to the 15th or the 10th to the 10th. And you can resubscribe 1 week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and you'll have instant access again. Now, if you have the standalone version of Final Cut Pro, it makes it easier, which I do. I wonder what DaVinci is working on for their next version here soon. They were pushing updates weekly last year, it seemed. Been quiet lately. NAB, they're going to be at NAB. They have the biggest footprint at NAB. And I might go to NAB this year. Maybe. I didn't go last year. I went the 3 or 4 years prior to that. I went 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then COVID hit, so I didn't go 2020 or 2021. Went back in 2022 and 2023. Did not go in 2024. Something like that. Anyway, I've been to a lot of them, except during COVID and except 2025. I didn't go 2025. So I went 2023 and 2024. I might go back this year because of that very peculiar announcement that FMC made about the Apple is supporting some of there's going to be a track of Final Cut Pro stuff, especially with listen, one of the good things about this subscription, it has really re-energized Final Cut Pro, people's interest in Final Cut Pro. It has really re-energized people's interest in Final Cut Pro. Look, younger people, I'm presuming this, would like a subscription better than the standalone. It just seems like it's the thing that they're used to. And if, like I said, if you don't subscribe by the year, just subscribe by the month, you can cancel it, take off 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, if you're not going to use it, just unsubscribe. And you can resubscribe anytime, and you're instantly got it back. But anyway, so Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve 21 will be announced at NAB, at least a beta. And it would not surprise me if there's a charge for the studio version if you go from 20 to 21. Now, there might be a leeway if you bought it in the last 2 years, you get it for free. Could be 5 years and you get it for free, but other people that are much older versions, I'm just going to guess $99 to update. No problem. No problem for me to do that. I like DaVinci Resolve enough. I would absolutely support them. I'm just going to say 99. Could be 49, whatever the heck it is. Grant Petty said last year at NAB, they are probably going to be charging for an update, but not yet. But he said probably. He didn't say, oh, we maybe are going to charge. He said probably are going to charge. And I would suspect it's going to happen this year, NAB. I think there's going to be at least a beta, Resolve 21. You get to try the beta out, and after the beta's over, give us some money and we'll let you use the studio for another year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. That's what I think. So if I go, there's two things that I want to go to NAB for. There's three things. Number one, this may seem a little bit, well, I love riding in the tunnel, the Tesla tunnel, the one that takes you over to the West Hall. I just really enjoy that. You get into Tesla, and it just runs through this round tunnel, and you go to the other building. So I'll film that. I filmed that the last 2 times I was there, and people, seem to enjoy it on YouTube, my YouTube channel. So I'll do that again. Number 2 is the Final Cut Pro track, they're calling it. Apple supported somehow the Final Cut Pro track. And since there's the Creator Studio, that's going to energize the Final Cut Pro stuff. Let me just say here. Let me pull this up. Let me pull this up. And we'll get our guest on. If the subscription is not verified the first time, Apple probably sends out additional verification attempts over several days. That would make sense, and that would be reasonable. Hold on 1 second. Assign you to guest 1. And let me see. Let me pull this up. Okay. Now, can you hear me, Gabe?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Great. Good morning.
How you doing? Let me, for everybody that's watching now, I have our, here we go. I can hear echo. No, let me wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. No, now we're good. Okay. It's one thing about Ecamm is a little strange. It has 2 places for echo cancellation. So I have
what
it
about now?
Once here and once. Is that the same? Let me see something. So I turned it on before you came on, and then somehow I got turned off. So whatever. Can you hear me okay?
All right. I can. And you?
Good. Good deal. So this is for our friends now why isn't that working? Come on now. Oh, I know why. Because I didn't do this. Here we go. Gabriel Spalding, our friend Gabriel Spalding. I've met Gabriel at, was it NAB or was it Creative Summit that we first met?
2017 Creative Summit.
Oh, okay. So it's Creative Summit. Have you ever been to NAB?
No.
Okay. So obviously it was Creative
Summit. And I
Summits.
hope that, yeah. I hope that, because, right now the Creative Summit website is hinting at something at NAB. I hope that the summit is a very distinct, separate event, because I have no interest in NAB.
No, listen. I don't understand how people jump to that conclusion from that message. It says nothing about that the Creative Summit is going to NAB, but multiple people have jumped to the conclusion, oh, this is the new Creative Summit. That's not what it says. It says while we're finalizing plans for 2026, Here's something else we're doing. Okay, so no,
Yep.
I'm pretty positive that's not the case. That there's no way the Creative Summit works at NAB. It does not work at NAB. NAB is gigantic. It's 50-some thousand people, 55,000 people. The Creative Summit is 150 to 200 people. The intimacy would be gone. No, plus the other thing is it's in Cupertino, right? The Creative Summit. That's one of the big things is going to the Spaceship Campus. Well, they're not going to bus us from Las Vegas to Cupertino to go to the Spaceship Campus. No. I've heard from my sources on the inside, nobody, people to know, is saying, they haven't even suggested that. Now, here's the only thing, Gabe, that I'm a little concerned about. Well, spring doesn't start in the United States till March the 20th. That's when spring arrives. So we're not even in spring yet. But people do need time to make preparations to attend the summit. Not 30 days. They need 90 days, I would say 90 days minimum, to take care of their jobs, take care of airfare, take care of if they got to get a dog sitter for their dogs or whatever while they're gone for the 3 days. And the other thing is FMC has to book a hotel.
Yep.
Okay. You're not going to book a hotel for 150, 200 people on 30 days notice. That's not going to happen. So we have until June the 20th. That is technically still spring. So my guess now is May or June is less likely because of WWDC. And here's the other thing. There's no sense in having a Creative Summit without a major update to Final Cut Pro.
That's my concern right now. I mean, they just released Final Cut 12. So what are we going to see 3 months from now or 2 months from now?
That was a shock. That we've been talking about that graphic for months on this show. We've had the Creator Summit Creator Studio graphic for months. We didn't know what it was. The fact that they announced it at the end of January with Final Cut Pro 12. How does that affect the summit? Well, I thought 12 was going to be at the summit. That was just because it was the next next number.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Things are kind of mixed up, but they have to. There's no sense in having a summit without a major update to Final Cut Pro. Not a bug fix, please. A major update. So that's a consideration. Now, unless they have a major update in their pocket from 12 that they didn't release, some new features that they say, we got to hold a few back for the summit, that could be. The other thing is twice now, they've shown us a version of Final Cut Pro that was coming out in the future. At 2 Creative Summits, they've shown us previews that came out later in the year. So they certainly could do the same thing. Here's the new version of Final Cut Pro. Yes, you can talk about it on social media. Absolutely. But it's not available until next couple months from now, a few months from now. This is like a preview. They could do that as well. Because they've done it twice.
That would be fine.
Yeah, that would be fine.
I'm not inclined to pay over $2,000 just to watch sessions covering features I've already used for months.
Yes. That we've already seen on people have been doing on YouTube forever. For 6 months, which is what happened, unfortunately, in 2019, if you were there. Yeah. There was no update to Final Cut Pro. It was
the people at the summit are friends now, and it's always great to see our friends, but $2,000+ is a lot just to hang out. I'm also I'm getting an echo of my own voice on from your this.
Well, in that case, look, I'm ready. Let me put this in. Hold on a second.
All right.
Let me put that in and do one thing.
I only need to hear my own voice one time.
Let me. I know what you mean. Let me do this. Scarlet. Okay. How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, yeah. I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
I'm not hearing you. So why am I not hearing you? Input, output. Oh, that's why. Input, Scarlet, output system. Am I plugged in? I thought, oh, you know what? I'm not plugged in. This is why. Let me plug this in there. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Now I got it.
Now you can
So
hear
that
me?
should hear you very, very clearly. And
I'm wondering. I'm using this MacBook Pro camera. I didn't have time for a full setup, and I'm wondering why it's so blurry. That's weird.
let me just check and see. Let me check and see if there's anything on here. Wait a minute, I can do this. I can brighten you up a little bit. And how is that? That's better, right?
Might be a little better.
I don't have digital zoom on.
I don't mind the artificial smoothing at my age. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever I broadcast from either NAB or Creative Summit, it absolutely does a nice smoothing job because I use my MacBook Pro. So I said, oh, that looks pretty good. But yeah, I agree. So any news on the Creative Summit? No,
No.
no news other than this. You can assume that Apple wanted to get CS12, Final Cut Pro 12 launched and let everything settle down before they decide what the next step is. Because it is complicated, okay? They have the hotel. They have future media conferences. They have Apple. They have the Final Cut Pro team. They got to check with Tim Cook and says, hey, Tim, when can we bring these people in to the to Cupertino? I mean, it's all these moving parts. And also, like, we probably both assume correctly that there should be an update to Final Cut Pro, especially after the 2024 one, as good as that one was. They can't give us a letdown, so it can't happen.
I mean, even right now, we have a handful of features that I think are clearly unfinished. Like we got partially movable markers. Maybe we'll be able to fully move them in a future update.
Oh, you
can
can't
drag
move them
them
from
to
the
edge
clip.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I realize like the fabric of the universe might unravel if you move it beyond a clip boundary, but they've got to figure out a way around that. And then,
Yeah.
things like the visual search. I mean, that can only get better with AI, the new transcript search. But then the next logical extension is A. I would say the simplest one is being able to read and export a transcript, and then of course B, text-based editing.
Listen, I can't believe that they do these weird things. Like they gave us the most rudimentary captions in 2024, November 2024. The most rudimentary transcribed audio to captions. And nothing since then. There's, they just throw them over here. That's all you're going to get. No, I can't believe that. And it's the same thing with movable markers. I put my markers on a title, use a title and use that. And then I can move them anywhere I want, left and right. So I've been doing that for a long time. But you're right. They just give us these basic things and then they forget about them. Let's go on to something else. Perfect example. Transcript search. You can't export a text file with time code.
I mean, especially now with Creator Studio, they talk a lot about the interoperability of these apps, and like if you have pages and numbers and Keynote as part of this studio, why can't we output to any one of those directly from Final Cut? It just seems like a weird oversight to me.
Right, right. But it seems some of these features are given to us and then they forget about them. So I mean, I go to Logic, I go to Resolve, DaVinci Resolve for text-based editing, and it's a joy to use. It's absolutely a joy.
Yeah.
I get a complete text document, time-stamped. I select something here, it shows up in the viewer. I select something here, it shows up in the viewer. Drop it in. I can export the entire script, the entire transcript as a text-based, maybe even a PDF, but it has all the time codes in it. So because you can't edit if you can't see. I mean, it's not text-based editing. It's like is this word is it now that it does work? Because I did it this morning. Is this word? Did I use this word? Did I use that word? And you have to, it just comes up and you can do it. But it's just like it's half baked.
Yeah, and half baked. I'm not sure if that's quite the right word for this, but as soon as I learned that we were going to get, transcript and visual search, I'm working on a documentary right now. I can't say much about it, but it's almost all in a foreign language or multiple foreign languages. So I can't use the transcript search because it's English only. So that would have been like an ideal experiment for me to go through these. I've got like 11 terabytes already of media to be able to go through that and see the accuracy of this, transcript and visual search.
Absolutely.
But transcript's
Absolutely.
off the table because almost none of it is in English. So that's unfortunate.
Gabe, do you have a volume control for your microphone set up? Sometimes when you talk loud, it's crackling. That's why I'm wondering.
Interesting. Let me check this out. Hold on. I've got a new audio I/O device. So
Maybe a preamp or something, or an input gain.
what about now? I turned it down a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds better. It just
Good.
at the very high end, it was cracking because I have two different controls I can turn up, so I turned them back up here. So I generally really like the Creator Studio bundle, and especially for younger people, maybe people that use the iPad versus the Mac. It's certainly going to bring more people in. Now, whether that's good or not, I'm not going to. That's not a quality issue. The quantity is not a quality issue. It doesn't mean you're going to get more good people. It just means more people. But it's good because we can probably get more money flowing to the Final Cut Pro team, which I absolutely agree to. I'd like to give them $100 every couple of years just for the standalone version. But here's the thing. There's a couple of weird things that they did. Number one, I've heard we've talked about it on this show, they're giving us pop-up ads now if you don't subscribe. Apple is giving us pop-up ads. Hey, do you want to subscribe? We don't need that for professionals. Professionals don't need that. There's a couple of other weird things. Okay, they said premium content for Keynote, Pages, Numbers, and Pixelmator Pro. Mm-hmm. But they didn't say premium content for Final Cut Pro. They said new content, which are the titles, generators, and effects, the new crop. They didn't say premium because I don't think they are really premium. I don't know if the templates and stuff are. I don't know because I don't have it. But they distinguish between premium and new for Final Cut.
I don't know if I would call it premium. I mean, I've been working with the Creator Studio version of Final Cut Motion and Compressor just to see if they're stable, really.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm not using them for this documentary. I'm still on Final Cut 11.1 for that. I'm not going to risk a big project. But
yes.
So I've looked at some of this new content. I tend not to use any of that anyway. Like I create my own motion templates, so I use custom stuff anyway. So, but I do think for new users or maybe YouTubers, people creating social media content, a lot of that stuff could be useful.
Yes,
but the problem with that type of content is as soon as you give it to everybody, you're going to have 100,000 videos that all look the same. So
yes,
it's it's a nice offering, I suppose, but I think it has limited use.
Yeah. So for me, the Creator Studio is mainly about Final Cut Pro. That's the main app I'm interested in. Logic secondarily, and then Pixelmator Pro. But Pixelmator Pro for me is fine the way it is. I don't need any extra content, especially not for $12.99 a month. Logic Pro is the same way. I don't need those stuff that they're offering, which is the bigger libraries and stuff. That doesn't. It's not enough. Final Cut Pro, Let's talk about Final Cut Pro. I'm using the standalone version, and I'm like you. I have a documentary I've been working on for 5 years, and we have another screening coming up on April the 26th in here in Maryland at a theater down here. There's no way in hell I'm going to update that library to Final Cut Pro 12. There's no way. Open up in the same version I closed it in. All the plugins are working. I have complete backups. I have my Mac OS backed up to that version, et cetera, et cetera. There's no way I'm going to mess up that, 3 and 4 year documentary with Final Cut Pro 12.
I mean, I have in the past, duplicated a library and opened it in the new version of Final Cut, pre-Creator Studio, just to test it. And 9 times out of 10, it's a made-up number, but most of the time, it's fine. But if you're working on such a large project, especially in this case, I'm the assistant editor /
Sure.
post-production supervisor. So I don't want to advise the editor to make a move that then 3 months from now it bites us. That's not good. So we're not even going to update to 12 for this project.
Right. So I had some comments. As you know, I have a couple of Final Cut Pro Facebook groups, more than a couple.
Yeah.
And on those people, when I said that I had trouble with Lumberjack Systems, Intelligent Assistance,
Caption
Animator.
I remember. Mm-hmm.
And when I did because I was in Final Cut Pro Standalone 12, and when I did the XML and did the thing, when I pressed the go button, it kept launching Final Cut Pro CS, which I wasn't subscribed to. I said, wait a minute, I'm in one version of Final Cut Pro, and its only option is to launch the other one. I couldn't get around it, so I had to delete the other version of Final Cut Pro, which I did. I deleted from my apps folder. Then it would launch properly to that one. Now, since then, of course, Philip and Greg are the best, and they fixed that. They identify which version of Final Cut Pro you're using, and then now it's supposed to do the correct one. So that's an example. Why? And then behind the scenes, I heard some things. Whatever. I mean, how do I get around that? So they took care of it. I just deleted Final Cut Pro CS from my system. It's still off. But I have the Apple Creator Studio because I need Keynote updated. I need Pages updated, and I need Numbers updated to the latest versions without premium content. It's another one of those things where Apple could have been a lot clearer. You can update those 3 with Apple Creator Studio for free. It doesn't cost anything. It's when you go to the premium content that you have to pay the subscription.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I have one active project in the Creator Studio version of Final Cut. As soon as that's done, I think I'm going to zip that up and then just use the standalone version because, like I said, if you're not using the premium content, there are no benefits to it.
Right.
And so I want to avoid situations where it's trying to launch the wrong version, and then you get that damaged library warning, which I've seen a few times already. And the library's fine.
Yeah, I got that too.
It's a scary warning.
Yeah. Well, I use the app. It's a $20 app, Backups for Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
Anything important, I use that exclusively to back up my projects and libraries without media. You can name it. You can do it manually. I just press a button, boom, or save it. Boom, save it every 5 minutes, whatever. And that's $20. And it's been. I haven't seen if it's updated for 12, but it's really, really good app. So I use that, and I don't know. So what's going on with that error? Do you know? Have you figured it out? Have you heard a solution for the corrupted library?
No, but to be honest, I've been ever since the new version was launched, I've been so busy with work. I've barely been had time to play with the new features.
Okay.
So I've kind of been off the internet as far as I've watched all the Mark Spencer and Jen Jager and Steve Martin, all their videos, but other than that, I've been kind of off the map.
Okay. Well, that means you're getting some work done. I've been outside snow blowing for a couple. I still have 8 inches of snow. It's not melting on the grass. We've got it 2 weeks ago, and it's just there because it stays below freezing every day. I got the driveway done. I have a lot of driveway to do. It's not just, I have a big parking area out front of my double car garage and my sunroom. It's a big, big area that I do first, but I also have a main lane that goes back for 3 houses, and that goes back probably a quarter mile,
Jeez.
And I usually, sometimes the person all the way at the back end does it, and sometimes she doesn't do her portion. So if she doesn't do her portion, I'll go ahead and do that as well. And then I got to get out to the road and stuff. And they got to clear the mailboxes. You clear the mailboxes, and the plows come in and push it all back in, and it's like 2 or 3 feet high. And you got to get it when it's fresh, because if it freezes, it turns into a glacier in front of you. Then the snowblower is not going to work.
Pretty much without fail, the city plow will come through while I've just about finished my driveway, and then
Exactly.
What they push at the end of the driveway is 10 times deeper than what you just got done shoveling. So it's a contentious relationship with the city. I
well, they don't really have any choice, but they block both of our mailboxes.
I think they have an alert system, and they wait till I'm just about done, and then they're like, go. And then
that's Elon Musk is watching your driveway from Starlink, and they have a little spot on you. He just finished. Go ahead and go out there.
That would track. I've been critical of him. He could have it in for me for sure.
Well, you're on X. I see you on X.
Yeah. Not paid.
No,
and most of the time, I think 80% of the time, I assume I'm talking to a bot at this point. But
that's true. That's true. But I think that's on a lot of social media. I mean, but I'm listen, you're probably too young, but when we did the moon landing in 1969,
oh yeah, that was before my time.
That was phenomenal. The entire world had the biggest audience of all watching the moon landing in somewhat real time. Imagine what we can do now. The technology and the clarity of the video and the audio. Imagine how it could work now. You could have a live stream of the guys and the women in the capsules the whole time. And I thought they were going to do at least as going around the moon, something. I love that stuff, and that's fantastic. And the other thing about 1969, I was in high school. The Rolling Stones put out Honky Tonk Women in July 1969, which was the first single with Mick Taylor, because Brian Jones just died the night before July the 3rd. He drowned in a swimming pool. He was one of the founding members of the Stones. He had quit earlier, and they had this new replacement, Mick Taylor from John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers, real young, hot blues player, was really good. And that single came out in 1969 too. I remember that. That was a pretty cool time. So we have some comments here. Did some fun time lapse in the Tesla tunnel. I did too at NEB. I've done it for 2 or 3 years, and I put them on YouTube, and I just love that. Now, the last time, they used to have the right-hand side went to the West Hall, and the left-hand side went further down to the Central Hall or something. Now you can pick either side and just tell your driver, and they can loop around if you're going the other way. But the city of Las Vegas will not let that be autonomous driving. The city of Las Vegas insists there's a driver behind the wheel. Now, these tunnels are they're one way, and they're round, so you can't turn left or turn right. This is like the safest place to do autonomous driving, because you really can't, you can't crash to left and right. You can't even turn left and right. And it just goes one way to the hall, and then you turn around and go the other way. But they insist that even if you use autonomous driving, you still have to have a driver behind the wheel. So at least that's what it was the last time I was there.
I feel like Vegas probably has a lot of drunk drivers. That might be the ideal city to have autonomous driving.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I think you're absolutely correct. Now, I don't drink, so I don't have that issue. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. So one of the things about NAB is I've been hearing about AI for years, and one of the people I interviewed one time said the best thing about it. It was maybe in 2023, and he said, when I was interviewing him, he said, I said, do you have any AI in this new version of your stuff? He goes, yeah, we sprinkled a little bit around, just just so they could say, yeah, it has some AI. We sprinkle a little bit here. And then I talked to Sam Messman, and at that year, and he said, yeah, it's like a spice. It's like AI is like a little spice to sprinkle it around, whatever. But anyway,
Honestly,
so AI's.
that
Go ahead.
that's kind of what I hope the team does with Final Cut. Like I don't, and I appreciate certain AI features,
Right.
but I also have a lot of profound distrust of AI and what it's doing to creativity. I don't want them to go all in and for example, I have a friend who, when he learned about beat detection, said, "Oh, I want it to go one step further, where it actually remixes the song for me." And I mean, that's the creative part. That's what
Yeah,
are
I
we
don't
getting
want
paid
that.
for if we don't make those decisions? Like, I think beat detection does exactly what I needed. It saves time, it lets you be more precise, but then you make the creative decisions. And so, transcript and visual search, all that does is save time.
Right.
If they're accurate, they save time. If not, then you have to
Right.
babysit it. But
Right.
that's not unique to Final Cut. That's all AI tools. But I don't. I just don't want them to make an app that replaces what we use the app for. Because
I
as soon as
yeah.
a client is like, "Well, I can use AI for this," then the next logical question is, "Well, then what am I paying you for?" And that's not good for any of us. So
I don't see that happening. I think the human element's always going to be there. If I watched there was a 6-hour Beatle documentary. The Beatles allowed film crews to film them the last year of their life or the last 6 months, and they followed them around. They got 60 some hours. And when you watch a song, the Let It Be album, when you watch that being born from seeds of inspiration, when you watch the very first inspiration of Get Back, or the very first inspiration of Let It Be, or your very first inspiration of Don't Let Me Down, just the seeds starting and then the humans taking over and making them into songs, it was chilling. It was absolutely chilling to see that in what really happened during that time. AI music, I really don't I don't really care about it. It has no soul. It just doesn't have the thing. In the same way with video editing, yes, let AI make a couple of rough cuts for me. But that's all. If okay, here, let me see what you can do with a couple of rough cuts. I want to do the artwork, the art stuff. I want to do the art of editing.
yeah, I mean, I'm personally not even interested in it doing a rough cut for me,
Really?
because I enjoy the process. I think nowadays, especially the younger generation, and this is a generalization, but people don't want to make a video; they just want a video made. They just want the content. They just want the output, the thing that they export. They don't want to be involved in the process. And I guess that's okay if you're I don't know, an administrative assistant at some company, and they just task you with, hey, fine, it's not your passion in life to do that. You just want to get a video out, cool. But if you're claiming to be a creative or an editor, you should want to be involved in that process, I think. I mean, that's where you learn. For example, even visual search and transcript search, I will use it for sure. It's great. But there is a value, I think, in having looked at all the footage yourself with your own eyes and making your own critical and creative decisions along the way. And when you use a lot of shortcuts, you miss a lot of that process. And then, I think that risks showing up in the final product anyway. So
I don't disagree with any of that. I agree with
I'm
everything
hardly I'm
exactly.
hardly a luddite, and I'm very much into technology. I'm not anti AI, anti progress by any means. I just don't think every tool, I don't think every advancement is progress, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
exactly. So Ben says AI can't initiate anything, and human has to tell it what to do. And what we have is not actual intelligence; it's just machine learning. The bubble will eventually burst. Or
100,000% true.
right,
Absolutely. I mean, I joked with a friend that we should just drop the the I, and just call it artificial, because there's like, it's literally not by any stretch of the imagination intelligence. There's no sense of self. There's no being. There's no thing that can, possess intelligence. We might get there one day. That's a different story then. But for now, yeah, it's just algorithms. It's just processing. So
So
I'm glad he mentioned that.
I go to art museums, certain artists that I really, really like. I would not be the least bit interested in going to an art museum that AI did. Not nothing. The human element would be gone. I mean, there's a lot of different uh, artists that I like. I love Salvador Dali. I go to his museum down in Florida, in St. Petersburg. Every time I go down there, I like Andy Warhol. I like a lot of some of the classics, and there's just something about the art that is missing. AI just can't do it. Same thing with, nowadays there's, Taylor Swift will say, hey, write me a song like Hey Jude. Write, here's a computer, write me a song like Hey Jude. And then it'll try putting pieces together, and it's just not the same. It's not the same.
I mean, it's like getting a piece of IKEA furniture, or commissioning somebody to handcraft something. Now, I can't always afford the handcrafted furniture, so I do have some IKEA, but like,
Sure.
I don't appreciate it the same way.
Right. Right, exactly. Ben says he just turned down a contract to edit together content that was AI spokesmodels and Canva templates. 100% I won't do that. It's just lazy.
Ben, I'm with you all the way there. I find it
Yeah.
insulting, those types of jobs.
Yeah. Well, let me see. All pop artists have the same three composers credited on all their songs. That's why it all sounds the same. There's an actual team of people that, well, I forget what they call them, that actually write those songs. And then they're using computers. Give me something that sounds like, honky tonk women, or something that sounds like it's another pop song or whatever. And let's disguise it like we wrote it. No, you didn't write it. You didn't write it at all. Especially music. I mean, in Final Cut Pro, for years now, we've had voice isolation, which I think is machine learning. And I like that a lot. It does a really good job. It's different than the noise reduction. It's different.
Yeah, I mean, it's great until you listen with good headphones. Then you realize how much it's degrading. But for a lot of videos, a lot of the time, it's fine. It's
And
it
voice
can.
isolation is degrading. Did you find that
I mean,
degrading?
yeah, it degrades, but I mean everything. I mean, even Isotope RX is gonna technically, that's what it's doing, is degrading it. Um, do I use it all the time? Of course I do. I mean, not every video needs to sound. You know what I mean? A lot of
Yes,
people
yes.
nowadays, they're watching in vertical with the sound off and just watching captions anyway. So, which is also disheartening. Um, I don't want to go too
Yeah.
hard on the rabbit hole of negative negativity and what we don't
No.
like, but
Right.
yeah,
So one of the
that's a concern.
things, since you mentioned vertical video, I have not tried this yet, but Ecamm Live will now broadcast both horizontally and vertically. So at some point, I'm going to broadcast to my Instagram account a vertical. And that doesn't mean just a slice like this. It means I could put your square underneath of my square and stack them vertically, separate from this. And I could have
Sure.
that in the vertical screen. And that was what we'd be broadcast to Instagram, for example. So I didn't want to try it on one of these Saturday things, because these are going pretty good, except for this morning I had a few problems. But yeah, that's interesting that they've done that. There's two brothers, they're twin brothers. They're not quite, they're twins, but they don't look. They're Glenn and Ken, up in New Hampshire, I think, and I've been using their products forever. And I bought the Ecamm Live years and years ago when it first came out, and tried it. And then they went subscription, because now you can broadcast. We're broadcasting to X, we're broadcasting to Facebook Live, we're broadcasting to YouTube. I'll be broadcasting to Instagram at some point. And they pay for all that server time. So I don't mind the subscription. Plus, they gave me a steep discount because I was one of the early adopters. The legacy
Nice.
person, you get very, very great discount for the yearly fee, so I don't mind that at all. When it was called machine learning, AI was not the output. Our friend Ben says, Richard Gabriel, have a good weekend. I got to go do dog training classes to pay the bills. Be well. Very good, Ben. Take care of those dogs, that's for sure.
I wish I could train my cats to pay the bills. I don't know what he's involved with, but
I don't think
that's impressive.
Here's the cat we have right there. I don't think he gets the dogs to pay the bills. I think he gets paid to train dogs. I know you know that. I'm just teasing you. But our cats just sleep during the day. These do sleep a lot. We have 2 indoor cats and a couple of outdoors. Appreciate the discussion, Richie and Gabriel. I have a friend who does cat training professionally. It can be done. Cats are pretty smart creatures, and I don't know about training them, but they do. Yeah, there is something. They're special creatures. So if you treat them right and you're nice to them, they're incredible.
They're highly intelligent, but they value their autonomy more than doing tricks for you.
Absolutely they do. So let's get back to Apple Creator Studio. So like I said, I find it generally a positive step as long as they keep developing the standalone versions. Okay, as long as they keep giving us feature parity, maybe not content parity, but feature parity, mainly with Final Cut Pro. Mainly with Final Cut Pro for me. Logic Pro secondarily. And like I said, I use Pixelmator Pro now. I don't really know what I'm missing with the premium content. I don't use the templates, so
there's something in Pixelmator Pro now that I really wish they gave you in Motion. So it's in the Content Hub, which is kind of a weird place for it, but you have access to like 1 million custom shapes and things like that. Whereas in Motion, you've got a little button where you can draw a line, a rectangle, or a circle. And if you want something else, you have to go into the library and like browse for different things and like, why can't we just have that button open up all the different shapes? I mean, we can send those shapes from Pixelmator to Motion, which means we know Motion could handle them. So why don't we why do I have to open up Pixelmator Pro first? Just give that to me in Motion. Like that alone would save me a handful of time. And since Motion only really ever gets one thing every time it gets updated, like maybe we could have 2 things. And that's one of them. Like just give it a little bit of love in some time saving areas. And that's like an obvious one to me.
Now, one of the other things that I hear people say since Creator Studio came out is that, oh, good, now we're going to get some more features for Final Cut Pro and faster development. There's no evidence. There's no evidence of that's going to happen. I'm not saying that it won't happen, but there's no evidence. That's what we all want. That's what we want, but we've wanted that for 15 years. We've wanted that for 15 years. I mean, it took 13 years to get your scrolling timeline. It took 11 years to get dupe detection. It took 5 years to get remove attributes. So all these things, we all want that, but there's no evidence that that's going to happen. Hopefully it does.
Yeah.
Hopefully it does.
Something about Final Cut Pro that's strange for me is like, and I'm generally publicly far more positive and I'm more critical privately. But I mean, and we're talking about Final Cut Pro on this, with Final Cut users right now. So we can't afford to just, sing its praises and not be critical. But I think it's easy to forget when we're critiquing like why it took so many years to get a certain feature. And sometimes it's dumbfounding, but I think we all still love Final Cut. I mean, there's still the core of the app is just far more enjoyable for me to use than anything else. It doesn't mean I don't recognize it's behind in certain areas or this or that, or that I don't scratch my head. For example, that like we can't open a compound clip in place. We don't have an audio mixer. I mean, these things are kind of unforgivable in a way, but it hasn't prevented me from getting my work done. I still largely enjoy it. I still think components of the app are still years ahead of the competition. And so I guess the reason I'm mentioning this is just not to hyper focus on like, well, what needs work and what we're not happy about, because a lot of it is phenomenal, still phenomenal. Yeah. So I just kind of want to remind about that.
Yeah, It's fair to say listen, it's fair to do constructive criticism about any of the apps. We have a passion and an attachment to Final Cut Pro specifically, the community, and but that doesn't mean we're not going to say things that we think it needs improving. I mean, look at my top 100 list. It's been there since version 1, since version Final Cut 5, not 10, but not 10.5, but actually I started it with Final Cut 5. I had a top 50 list of things that I wanted to see in Final Cut. And I do the list because I care about it, because I want to see it improve. I don't do a list for Premiere. I don't do a list for Avid, not even Black Magic. There's a couple of things in Black Magic I'd like to see.
Sure,
They don't have a range. They don't have a range selector in the timeline. They have it in Fairlight. You can do a range in Fairlight and then switch back to the timeline and it'll be selected there. But there's no range selection in the main timeline. At least there wasn't the last time I checked. So that's an example. But there's so many people doing Black Magic tutorials and stuff that I don't even. Plenty of people doing it. Plenty of people that are really, really good at it. So,
well, and I also think nowadays, like more so even than in the past, people have like feature envy. So, Resolve's update cycle is pretty aggressive, and so Final Cut will get a couple things, and then the Resolve page, you just have to scroll and scroll and scroll to see it.
Right.
And a lot of people claim to jump ship and go to Resolve because of all this, but I can guarantee you that probably 90% at least of Resolve users aren't using most of those features.
Right.
I mean, you're cutting, you're doing some color work, you may be doing a simple sound mix. For most workflows, that's all you need. You're not using most of this stuff. So, and in our case, like, I wish some of those things were in Final Cut, but like, there's nothing wrong with jumping over to Resolve to do that, and then you jump back to Final Cut. Not a big deal.
Well, what I tell people when they say that is, well, you don't have to quit Final Cut to use Resolve. It isn't like you have to use one or the other. I use both of them, and I use LumaFusion on the iPad. And listen, LumaFusion on the iPhone is absolutely incredible. When I first started it, I said, well, it's going to be kind of difficult. It's not. It's really not. All the features, it's 100% feature parity between the iPad version. It's just a different layout and stuff. And the good thing is you film on the iPhone, your media is right there. No importing, exporting, whatever. It's right there, and you can do an edit, a very effective edit. It's really, really good. Really like it. I haven't tried the iPad, Final Cut iPad. Obviously, if I get the subscription at that point, I'll try it. And the odds of me not getting a subscription are very slim. So I will be getting one, but I just don't. There's no reason for me to do it right now. I mean, Final Cut's the main reason, and I have everything that I need right now. I don't need the extra titles and transitions and generators because I'd rather pay Mark Spencer or Brett FX one time for greatly designed and, of course, intelligent assistants for their stuff. One time for some of these great templates and titles and stuff, rather than rent them month after month after month. And then if you stop renting, you lose them. And here's the thing about. Go ahead.
Oh, real quick. I was just going to say one concern I have with the Creator Studio version is like it has to jump online to check your license. So what if you need to go off the grid and work? If you don't have an internet connection, you can't work? You can't edit the whole time you're gone?
That's not been clarified. I have a question directly to Apple about that. So tell me, this seems like it's possible. When you first subscribe, they put something in the code of the app that says you have a subscription for 365 days. Yeah. That's in the app itself.
Sure.
So that way they wouldn't have to, and it's also verified that you've already paid, or the month to month. I would think that would be a lot better than having to, as I told them, phone home. I said, how often does it have to phone home to verify subscription every time you launch it?
That's what it is with Canva, with Affinity. Now that Canva bought Affinity, if you pay for the AI features, which I did just out of curiosity, despite my anti-AI rant later. I am curious about it still. You can see the little window. It's checking every time. It's the same thing with Creative Cloud. So it makes me nervous. Not that I
Well,
intend to go off
yeah.
the grid, but it's a possibility. I might want to build a bunker somewhere and disappear from civilization
No,
and
well,
still edit.
listen, we got the standalone versions. We don't need the grid. I can take a laptop inside a cave and edit. I can take my phone, my iPad inside a phone, and edit. So I'd be, first off, I'd be very disappointed if they did that. Second off, if they did that and didn't tell people in advance, you need an internet connection in order to verify. Or if they just said, well, you need to check in once every 6 months, or
Sure.
just put something in that version, that code that says, okay, there's a little thing that says, okay, you got it for 365 days, or whatever. Somebody suggested some things. That makes more sense that they would do it that way, because
Yeah,
no
I agree.
way. Yeah. The other thing is just the graphics on the App Store, like Logic Pro. One looks like they're pitching it to students, the CS version, and one looks more professional, like they would be pitching it toward professionals. And so I think the CS version absolutely is pitched more to influencers, the creator economy. With students, obviously, students get a fantastic price. $30 a year, $23, $2.99 a month. Fantastic. I'll have to go up and take a couple classes at my local community college, but that's more expensive than the it's
Subscription.
1075 if you go by the year, 1075 a month, which is very, very reasonable. $12.99 if you don't. Once again, very reasonable. Even when they brought out Final Cut for the iPad in 2020, was it May of 2023? I think it was, or 2024. They brought out Final Cut for the iPad.
I think it was 23, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right. Even though I didn't subscribe to it, I never subscribed to it. I always said, look, $4.99 a month is very, very reasonable. That and the fact that you can handle your subscription on your phone. Cancel it, easy. Restart it up, easy. It's simple. It's not like Adobe's version, which I've heard nightmares, people with nightmare situations where they can't get in there. They got to get in there 24 hours before it expires, and they'll want to penalize them for, if you go one day late, no, you got to do another year now. It's just complete nightmare, which I really dislike about Adobe. I don't mind Premiere and stuff. It's the Adobe Corporation that I don't like. The whole hold you ransom, and no, we're going to charge you $150 for canceling 3 days early. No, that's nonsense. It's nonsense, utter nonsense. So it's simple to subscribe and unsubscribe, and the price is so reasonable. Apple did a great job on both of those. And I found it interesting. They put in pages, numbers and pages. I mean, Pixelmator Pro perhaps, but the other ones, the iWorks apps, is kind of weird that they put them in, but I guess they're going to do.
I could see them. I mean, I've seen a bunch of videos in the last week or so with they interviewed somebody from the Apple team, from the Final Cut team, and somebody from Logic, and they're talking. And I mentioned this earlier. They say interoperability a lot. That to me suggests apps communicating with each other. So while pages and numbers don't do this now, I mean, why can't we export, say, browser metadata as a numbers spreadsheet, which you can do currently with a third-party app? But why do we need a third-party app? And if these things are truly interoperable, why can't they link up? Why can't you export a transcript to Pages and create a PDF or whatever? So if that's their claim, I'd like to see that come to reality.
I'd like when we get to the Creative Summit again and we get the Q&A with the Apple team, I'm not gonna really do this, but in my mind I would do this. How much does Final Cut Pro get paid out of that $12.99 a month versus Logic versus Pages? I'm just curious. I hope Apple Final Cut Pro gets like at least 50% of that, because that's
I doubt it. I bet Pixelmator Pro gets a lion's share at this point.
You think so?
I mean, I don't really know. I'm just
What
guessing.
about Logic?
But Logic, I mean, Logic's amazing and their updates are great. You just are most people, I'm not talking professionals, are most users, people who would subscribe to this, are they using Logic or they need to just create a quick image? I just think more likely they're going to use a graphic design app than Logic or Final Cut Pro. Now,
So
that said, Motion's been ignored for years and years and years, and not just, I have to say,
right,
by the team, but by the public. Now, anybody who subscribes to it has Motion. So the public awareness of Motion can only increase, which I hope
yes,
puts a little bit of pressure on the team to do anything with the app, other than just give us something that Final Cut already had. That's
right,
because I use Motion as much as I use Final Cut, and
right.
I've hit my head on the ceiling of that app like 10 years ago, and it just hasn't really evolved.
Well, they haven't even updated the number until it's now to 6. After 15
I know.
years, they updated it to 6.
Yeah.
That's a telltale sign. And listen, the fact that a lot of people don't use it is probably the reason. I've used it occasionally, and I really like the keyframe editor, even though it's it's very advanced. When you turn everything on, it's everything over the place, but you can turn stuff on and off. But I love the keyframe editor, even for the little bit that I use it. And I've modified a title or two when I didn't have something that I needed. I went in there and added it and then resaved it and stuff. So I like that, but Logic and Final Cut is more than I need right now. I mean, more than enough. I don't have time for anybody else.
Yeah. Given Apple clearly knows how to create a keyframe editor, it's strange to me that it's not in Final Cut. But not only that, I mean, I tend to keyframe because I like the precision control. But behaviors are a huge part of the reason to use Motion. Why don't we have
another thing.
Just put the behaviors in Final Cut, and we could do so much with it. I mean, behaviors are ideal because newer editors who don't know how to keyframe or are intimidated by it, you just drag and drop, adjust a slider, and you're good to go. It's completely Apple's language to just put a behavior in Final Cut. It's just weird to me that it doesn't exist.
I'll be curious how if this changes the development cycle of Final Cut Pro. I'll be curious. I'm not worried about Logic. Logic has been gangbusters on development for forever, but I'll be curious if this changes the trajectory that they thought they were going to be doing. I don't know if you remember in 2024, the questions that I asked, not knowing that it was going to come to fruition. I said, look, when Final Cut Pro 10 was announced, I used the wrong term, but I said there was a 10-year roadmap. It wasn't a 10-year roadmap, it was a 10-year foundation. And it was not Peter Stenauer he said, did I say that? And the guy next to me said, yes, you did. And it wasn't him. It was Richard Townhill. 6 months later, when 10.0.1 came out, he's the one that said we had a 10-year roadmap for Final Cut Pro 10. And I asked the team, I said, do you have a similar roadmap for Final Cut Pro 11, which was just announced, or are we going to see Final Cut Pro 12 in 6 months? Well, it wasn't 6 months. It was 14 months we saw Final Cut Pro 12. I had no idea. I was just being facetious, of course.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, the version. I mean, who knows what significance the version numbers have? But
They
we were
don't
on
have any
10 for like 15 years, and we were on 11 for like a little over a year. So it's a weird.
18 months, 16 months. Yeah, exactly. So the numbers don't mean anything anymore. They just don't.
No.
They just throw things up in the air. We'll pick this number.
Part of me thought they would shift to the new like iOS and Mac OS model, where it would just be Final Cut 26, Final Cut 27. I mean, it's weird that these apps are having kind of their own unique version numbers versus the larger ecosystem of the operating systems just going
right
here.
Well, the other thing that's weird, the end of January. What kind of an announcement is at the end of January for a major update to Final Cut Pro? They did
announce the Creative Cloud. I think wasn't Creative Cloud released like right before their quarterly earnings call, and I think that's way over my head, but I'm pretty sure that might have something to do with it because you're introducing a new service and you can get new subscribers and you can start to see what the public is, how they're going to react and are they going to subscribe, and so to me.
Well, so the other thing is Services are a big deal for Apple bottom line. So this was another one of their services. Logic Pro stem separation gives amazing vocal isolation. I did it. I'm a big fan of the Rolling Stones, and I love Mick Taylor's guitar playing, specifically lead playing. So I would take Rolling Stones songs into Stem Splitter to isolate his guitar track. And then I would slow it down to half speed without changing the pitch. So you can do all this in Logic Pro, and boy, does it make learning his licks much, much easier, because you can absolutely isolate his guitar track, and you can absolutely slow it down to half speed without changing the pitch. So it's great for learning guitar stuff. But anyway, it did a great job. I was shocked at how good it did. That's been out for a couple of years. Same with beat detection. That's been in Logic Pro. The only thing better in Logic Pro is you can adjust the beats. So sure. They may start out exactly, but you can adjust them left and right, because music is not exact beat, 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 beat. Sometimes it swings, and the beats before the people are playing before and after the beat, they swing. And the other thing is that's the human element. So
yeah, it would be real. I mean, I write music and I use Logic, and I write it note by note with MIDI notes, and it takes forever. But like, I spend a lot of time just shifting notes around a little bit so they're not mathematically correct, and just to add that human, granted, everything I write is flawed anyway, but to add more human flawness. I just see somebody wrote, Adobe just dropped 55% discount for 1 year subscription. Well, it's still more expensive than Creative Studio.
And they still will try to keep you. They won't let you, go early. If you wanted to go a week early or 2 weeks early, they're going to charge you an early cancellation fee. We have to charge that. And if you go one day late, you got to go for another whole year. That's the nonsense that I don't like about it. I don't have a problem paying a subscription as long as the apps are updated. Well, they'll be updated. The question we have is, will they be updated more often with more features? If that was the case, then that would kind of imply that there was a financial reason why Final Cut hasn't been updated over the last, not 15 years, because up to 10.4.11, I think 10.4.11 came out at the end of August, and that added the proxy workflow. Up to that point, there was a lot of feature updates, and there were a lot of big ones. Once they hit 5, it's like, okay, let's look at 11. 11 was a good update at the Creator Summit. In March, they released 11.1 and a couple of things. And then in September, 6 months later, 11.2, the only thing it had was proxy, ProRes proxy for people that had an iPhone 17 Pro Max. That was the big update. I appreciate it because I have an iPhone, but the majority of Final Cut Pro editors are scratching their heads saying, what? And now with Final Cut Pro 12, 3 ticket items,
And they're all big headline grabbing features.
Yes.
Which I understand and I like having, but we got in relative recent history, some of the things that aren't going to grab headlines, nobody's going to, flash a bunch of lights and jump up and down for, but being able to hold Option and rearrange your vertical stacking later in the timeline, that's huge. I use it all the time. Little things like that, little quality of life improvements that aren't huge, I do too. Not AI, but they're amazing. I hope they don't kind of lose sight of those just to, have fancier press releases. And don't get me wrong, I beat detection, visual, and transcript search are amazing. They're so good to have. So I don't want to stop that either.
But they just need to take transcript search so you can export a printed transcript PDF with timestamps. That's what what I use. Come on.
I asked that in person at the last summit. I said, if we ever get this, we need to be able to export a transcript, or even from the timeline. Why can't I export a transcript of the sequence, and see it in the inspector, or a floating window, or whatever? Because
absolutely.
I have to transcribe 35-minute, podcasts all the time, almost once a week. And I generally don't use Final Cut to transcribe it. Even though it's the fastest, it's also the least accurate as far as capitalization and punctuation.
Right.
It's not not that great. But I edited it in Final Cut because it's the easiest in there. But like, if I could just open up a spreadsheet, I could just, or not a spreadsheet, a PDF type interface where I
Sure.
can just see all the text versus one line
Absolutely.
at a time and the time.
Exactly. It's amazing that they didn't improve on the captions yet. Hopefully that's forthcoming. And yes, I use animation caption animator, and I use BreadFX to do TikTok style. If I'm doing a short video, I use
Same.
both of those, and it works great. It works great. Yeah. That's one of the things even the rudimentary version of captions that they have is better than DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is a very sophisticated text-based editing, which is great. But you can't edit the captions in the timeline like you can in Final Cut. Final Cut, you either click or double click or something, and it opens up right in the timeline. You to change them right there. You got to go up the inspector for each one. You got to change up to the inspector. At least I haven't figured out a way to do it in Resolve. And I hate that trans back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
I do this all the time, and in Final Cut you double click to open one, but if you hit Command right arrow, it'll jump to the next one already open for you, and you can just come in and just keep moving down the road. Now, and this is I'm not going to blame Final Cut for this because it's just as bad as pretty much every other service I've tried, at least 3 others. But the AI is getting really good overall at like understanding what words are being spoken, but terrible at timing. Like the captions always appear like a second or more before the word is even spoken,
right,
which is weird to me because the AI is listening, to
the waveform,
audio waveform. So why, if this triggered you to interpret this word, why are you saying now it's some other
right?
thing?
No,
it
absolutely
just makes no sense to me.
Absolutely,
so I'd love to see improvement there.
Well, and that's the same. Even with DaVinci Resolve, which is really good, it's the same thing. You got to go in and you're never going to get 100% on the captions, at least not now. You're going to get 90%, and you got to go in manually and fix them.
These 35-minute podcasts, I can transcribe them depending on what tool I use in about 30 seconds, and then I spend 3 or 4 hours babysitting manually. It literally takes me less time to cut the episode and all the shorts from the episode just to correct it. It's kind of maddening. And if if I was charging by the hour, that would be okay, but it's just a lump sum. So
I agree. Yeah. I do a couple of podcasts myself for people, and I just give them a price, and if it goes over, that's on me. As long as it's like 45 minutes or less. If they go over an hour, I charge more, or if they want some extras, I'll charge more. But if it's just the 45 minutes, which is typical, or less, I'll figure out a way to do it the most efficient way. So,
and the reason I care about the accuracy is because, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about using AI to farm out all the work. Like, obviously, I'm using AI to do the transcribing, but if I just left it that way, it would be just as bad as if you did nothing and let YouTube come up and everything's inaccurate. And I figure these guys are paying me to like do a good job and to represent their company and their podcast well. So if their viewers are turning on captions, which metrics tell us most people are, if they're all over the map, it makes them look unprofessional, and then I'm not doing them a service. So yes, I will eat the time and the absurd amount of time it takes to fix the AI. But if I didn't have to do that, it would be amazing.
Absolutely. So knowing Apple, I doubt it will increase the frequency of updates. Let's see. I optimistically that it will. It's not just increase, it just give us the features that we want. I mean, a mixing board, come on. I mean, I know for a fact the mixing board's there. I just like I knew the scrolling timeline was there. For too many people inside for years that I trust, they've had a scrolling timeline since day one. They just haven't turned it on. Same with the mixing board. I know it's there. It's just whatever reason they haven't turned it on. Maybe that's going to be the summit. Big surprise at the summit.
I mean, that would be, if that's all we got was a rules-based mixer, that's all I would need for like the next 5 years.
That would be phenomenal.
It's such a weird thing because like everybody has to mix their audio at some level, some advanced, some simple, whatever. But like, if you're in a professional workflow, it's generally going to go to Pro Tools, but Final Cut doesn't let you export Pro Tools without a third-party app. And you can sort of go to Logic, but that workflow is really kind of gimpy. It's not ideal. So that means you're you're better off in Final Cut, but then you have to like create a compound clip of everything. And then, yes, it works. You create your buses and your lanes, but then if you want to make an adjustment, you have to step inside of it. And now you're mixing outside the context. You can't hear the overall thing. It's
Right.
no different than a pre-comp in After Effects. So it's like, why can't we just have a simple mixer?
No,
And I'm sure
absolutely.
from their, if they were listening to this, they would, they're looking at the engineering and the audio channel and the busing, and I'm sure it's not simple, but
Well,
it's
they
time.
but people say that all the time. Well, it's complicated. Yeah, they listen. Okay, fine. DaVinci Resolve can do it. Premiere can do it. Avid can do it. They all had text-based editing 3 years ago, or 3 years ago at NAB. All of them. 3 years
Yeah.
later, we can't do something like text-based editing. I mean, this is a first step. Transcript search, but don't stop there. Come on,
Yeah.
that's only the baby step. Just like with captions, give us more robust captioning. So this is something that I heard. Does Final Cut Pro have an option to color clips like in Logic? Not color clips, color rolls. But somebody said that they've added more colors to the rolls now. Did they do that in 12? Somebody said that. I haven't verified it. They said they add more colors.
I don't think so. Although I did experience, it's funny because when 12 came out, they said they fixed a bug where updating a library would change your roll colors. Well, the first library I updated, the roll colors were all changed. So I'm not so sure about that fix. But again, it's not a huge deal if you only have a few rolls. But if I'm on this
Right.
documentary where I've got dozens of custom rolls, it's kind of annoying. But better than a damaged library, certainly. I'm going to open up Final Cut now just to see.
Okay.
But I'm 99% the roll colors are the same. And I wish we had more. And yes, I wish we could color code clips without assigning roles because that's a different functionality. But I can
Yes, it
understand
is.
visually where that would be weird because the roll color already colors the whole clip. So then if you have some other, you know, indicator, like where do you put that on the clip? Is it a flag? Is it, what? It could be
Yeah,
confusing quickly.
I like the ability, like Logic Pro, when I do like an hour podcast and I have two or three different people, I can just select all their clips and instantly color, Option C to bring up the color palette, color code all those clips. So I know visually I can look at those and say, okay, this is John over here. These are all his clips, et cetera. And it's just easy to select them and move them around because we're visuals. We're visual people. We like visual things. I always get a
Yeah.
kick out of people when they talk about using emojis to sort clips in the browser. And it's like, oh, you have a red apple, a yellow banana, a green check mark. I said, you have to realize you're not using the emojis, you're using the color of the emojis. Because if all the emojis were gray, they'd be useless to you. It's the color that's missing. It's the color that you're missing. You
Yes.
can't color things. And, once again, DaVinci Resolve, you can color clips, you can color projects, you can color whatever you want. And I love the dual timelines in DaVinci Resolve. I'd love to have dual timelines, be able to drag from one to
That
the
would
other
be.
and stuff.
Yeah, I'm constantly flipping back and forth and copying from one to the other. And the way that it currently works, even with a shortcut, Command right bracket, you jump to the next one and you make a change and you try to go back, and it's not even the one you were just on. It's just, that one's
How,
closed for
how
some reason. It's
have you ever had that?
the,
I've been doing exactly what you're saying, and all of a sudden my timelines are no longer available. What the?
yeah.
Why? Why did
Yeah,
what?
suddenly you
What
have to go
happened?
back and double click to open it again. Oh,
Yeah,
by the way,
I don't.
the roll colors are the same. I don't see a single new roll color
Okay,
here.
okay.
Yeah.
But I've done that and back and forth and dropped, and sometimes they disappear. They're not there, and I have to go back and double click from or just space bar. It's just like where did they go? There's not that
Yeah,
many.
it's
It's
just
only I'm
gone.
only working with three or four. I don't know what triggers that. I have no idea what triggers that.
Yeah. Oh,
Raymond
here's a
Parker says he reverted back to 11.2. Well, I'm glad you made a copy of 11.2. How many people said, "Oh, how do I go back to?" Well, make a copy. Come on, I put that out for days before 12 was released. Since once again, they pre-announced the version of Final Cut Pro. They've done this irritatingly, irregularly over the past 5 or 6 years. Sometimes they will pre-announce. Sometimes it's just radio silence for months and months and months. So I hear this all the time. This comment from from our friend Alista. I think they don't want to break the speed of Final Cut Pro by adding so many features. Listen, I don't like making excuses for the Final Cut Pro team. They're smart people. They have money to develop. They can do both. They can keep the fluidity with either a beta team or whatever they got to do. They can do both. Saying, I don't want them to break it. Listen, they can do both. They can put new features in and also make them work. Everybody else does. Blackmagic does. I mean, obviously it gets more complicated, but one of the interesting things is I always mention that Logic has an advanced panel where you can turn on advanced features. Logic Pro 12 turns them all on. There's no more option to turn them off. They turn all the advanced features on. There's no longer a preference. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that because for years I kind of wished that Final Cut had that. Like,
absolutely.
Because I understand, for the average, they want to keep it approachable for people who aren't, high-end professionals, as it were, who could get overwhelmed by all these things. So just a simple check mark, and then you can hide that stuff. And then when you're ready, when you evolve to that point, you can turn it on, and there it is. But I guess they've abandoned that with Logic 2 now. So
yes. So here's all our colored emojis. This is how you sort clips in the browser in Final Cut Pro by using all these colors. But if all those hearts were gray, they'd be useless. It's not the emoji, it's the color of the emoji that you're sorting by as far as visually.
Yeah.
And
here's something else.
Go ahead.
For colors, rating clips. Okay. You can green for favorite. You can red for reject. Orange if it's a used media, something you've used in a timeline. And that's about it. Like, why can't we have other sorting options? Like, I might have something where I like it. I might want to go back to it, but it's not a favorite. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily want a keyword, because keywords are amazing, but I don't necessarily need 5,000 of them. And it's
exactly
counterproductive. So like, give us a couple other options, stars, or I don't care what it is. Just here's a yellow stripe. That means this, or here's a, it's such a simple thing that I can't imagine it would take a team of engineers to give us a new color bar.
Well, here's the thing about coloring clips, color coding clips. LumaFusion does it. DaVinci Resolve does it. Here's one of the things, talking about what you're talking about exactly. Here's one of the things that's amazing about color coding clips. You can sort by the color. Mm-hmm. You can sort you put red and all the red clips will come up. You can sort by blue and all the blue clips will come up. So that's exactly what you're talking about, but you can do it with colors, by the colors. And that would be so beneficial.
Which we can do, we can sort by roles now. But again, a role tells you more than just, it's more than just visual indication. It affects audio down the line. It's if you just want to quickly, like, I've got 20 clips in the timeline, I need to flag. Maybe I want to flag them because it's a piece of media it's in my rough cut documentary work, but I'm not quite sure I'm allowed to use it, the license or the copyright or whatever. So I'm just going to flag them.
Right.
And you could do markers, but that doesn't really jump out to you. Resolve, for example, I mean, they've got flags and all kinds of different tools. And
you're right.
I wouldn't want to tell the team which route to go, because generally when they do give us a feature, they implement it in a way that's clever that we wouldn't have thought of, and that's great. But we do need some more options.
No, we do need some more options. Absolutely. So yeah, one of the things is, why can't we have more colors and markers, different color markers, rather than just the three? So that would help.
Orange, sort of purple, and red. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just,
we got all those markers like in version 1, I think, and then they just haven't changed at all ever since then, except for now we can drag them a little bit. So
yeah, that's one of the things people talk about the Creative Summit. You've been there, I've been there. You don't appreciate how great it is to be, number one, get a presentation from the Final Cut Pro team, the Pro Apps team, personally. The last time they did it at the developer studio in that theater, it was magical. It was absolutely just like going to see Steve Jobs in one of the theaters, smaller, but it was just magical. It was just, I really, really liked that. And then we walked over to to the Spaceship Campus. That is fantastic, getting a personal presentation from the Final Cut Pro Apps team, and then getting a Q&A with them.
Yep.
We can ask whether they answer or not is a different story, but they're the last one was, they were pretty open about stuff last time.
Cautiously open,
Cautiously open, yeah.
But I mean, you have to go in expecting that. I mean, you can't
absolutely.
just expect like Apple's suddenly going to completely change their approach to everything just because they've gathered a couple hundred of us there.
No, it's the other thing is Apple is over here, and then the Final Cut Pro team is listening down here. It isn't like they can just, disobey what corporate says, the rules and stuff. They have to keep going. So that's really interesting. So we'll see how fast they update Final Cut Pro CS Creator Studio, and like I said, I think hopefully the next big update will be at the Creative Summit. That's what I'm hoping, and that they have till June the 21st if they want to be held accountable to, last year in August 2025, when they announced they were not going to do a Creative Summit in November, I said, well, you canceled it for 2025. Oh, well, we just postponed. No, you canceled it. There was no Creative Summit in 2025, and there's been one every year since 2016. So you canceled it for 2025. Let's see what happens in 2026. I mean, I haven't heard anything opposite, but I have some connections other people don't have. I've heard nothing saying that they're not going to have it. So they have till June the 21st and still be technically in spring. So I don't even care if it's the spring. Go ahead.
I hope it's April or early May with new features. Otherwise, if it's November again, all that means is we have to wait another, 9 months until we get another feature. So,
well, here's the thing about the middle of April and the middle of May. Future Media Conferences is booked in April at NAB. That's gigantic for them. And now this year they're going to Europe with their thing in the middle of May. So can't be in the middle. I don't think it's going to be the week after, but there is room in there somewhere. But still, let us know what's going on. I mean, come on. You said you'd have it in December. I'm not blaming anybody specific. I'm just saying, from us, from the 5 million, 6 million Final Cut Pro editors, or the hundreds of people that are going to go to the summit, let us know something. Okay? I mean, I understand you got to coordinate this. People say, well, it's complicated. Okay. You've had 6 months to take care of this. You got to know something. And I'm not saying have it without a major update to Final Cut Pro. Just the opposite. Do not have it without a major update to Final Cut Pro, feature update. There's no sense in having it. Unless you had it like the...
Yeah, at least talking about coming up like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And we don't need to drop it on that day, but yeah.
They've done that twice.
Do you remember, was it 17 or 19 when we got the color tools and we got to play with the new iMac Pros and film it and talk about it like while we were in that room? I mean, that was...
It wasn't 19 because 19 was nothing.
It must have been 17 then.
They've never said we can't talk about this. Every time except for I think 2016 there was. In 2016 it wasn't in Cupertino, it was someplace else in California, and that's when they showed people the roles-based stuff. That was secret. They kept your phones locked on the bus and the stuff. No, every time since then, yes, you can talk about it on social media. Every time, even if it was a pre-version, it's coming out later this year. It's coming out. They show it to us in October or November. It's coming out in December before the end of the year, whatever. They've never said you can't talk about it. They said, go talk about it right now. Go on social media and do all the talking you want. So that's always been really, really cool. So what does this guy say? Raymond Parker photo, unstable for me, wise, ditched it and reverted back to 11.2. That's, sometimes there's always some people with plugins or some other media. I've had problems with my my DJI Action 5 camera, which I have right here, which I love this thing. I didn't get the 6 because this is really good. And some of the clips in here, when I brought them into Final Cut, 60 frames per second, were causing problems, black frames and stuff. And it definitely was the GoPro. It was the 60 frames per second, and I narrowed it down to the media card. Couldn't handle the 60 frames per second. So now I got another media card. I used the 512 media card for 30 frames per second. And when I go 60 frames per second, I use a different Alexar media card, and that one works fine. But it was weird. It was like skipping frames and black frames and everything. And I think, this isn't Final Cut Pro. This is definitely the media from the GoPro. And it was.
I haven't seen any bugs in Final Cut 12 standalone or Creator Studio yet.
Okay. I've heard something about the color workflow is a little different, or is there something different with 12? And that's both versions of it, not just one or the other. I heard somebody comment that. Color there's something they changed in the workflow, or something's a little quirky. Who in the heck knows? I mean, people come on the internet to complain, okay?
Yeah.
90% of the comments are complaining comments, which it's kind of human nature, but I like to have the positive things as well. I mean, come on with good stuff. Somebody was telling me in one of the other groups that I said, well, he said he got Logic 12 and it's broken everything, broken all the stuff. I said, well, go back to your backup of Logic 11. Oh, it's too late for that. Logic Pro updated automatically. No, the Pro app's doesn't update automatically. It's something you have to go to the App Store. You got to locate it, and then you got to press the update button. There's no automatic updating of the Pro apps. He says, oh, yeah, mine did overnight. I don't think so. Unless you have some kind of peculiar thing. I've never seen that happen. But that's whatever.
Well, even then, yeah, the information on how to zip up your app versions has been available for longer than a decade.
And that's exactly what I did to put it up there. It's too late. No, it's not. Well, whatever. Learn for next time. So hopefully you don't have to connect to the internet for CS. Hopefully that's true. Hopefully it is put something in your app that says, okay, you got 365 or you got 2 months or 3 months or whatever. Now, the interesting thing is the fact that they did not update the Mac Mini Pro. Okay, I got the M4 Mac Mini Pro, and I really like this. The fact that they didn't update it in a year makes me want to get the M5. If there's a longer time span between updates, like 18 months or even 2 years, I like that better. So now I'm excited about getting possibly the M5 Mac Mini Pro when it comes out. Trade this one in and this has been a great, great machine. Do you have a Mac Mini Pro by any chance?
I have a M2 Ultra Mac Studio with 128
you have the Mac Studio.
of RAM. It's kind of a beast, and honestly, I think 128 is way overkill. I don't think the apps ever touch that, so I think 64 is probably the sweet spot.
Yeah, I think I got 64 in my Mac Mini Pro. Seems not to like audio interfaces. Several reports, including my Ardient ID4, but
my Audient, the interface I'm using right now, that I just got 2 weeks ago, is the Audient. It's actually the ID14, but that's been working fine with, as far as Final Cut or whatever. As far as the OS, it could be a little weird. Sometimes the volume something doesn't work, but I think that's an OS level thing.
Or they have to update their drivers for the Audient. I don't know if that's something. Yeah, that could be, because I know I got an Apollo Twin X, which is I'm talking through. I have a Neumann TLM 103 microphone here going into an Apollo Twin X with, the real-time plugins, which is phenomenal. But I got to drivers have to be updated, with OSs and stuff. So I'm not sure. Here we go. Comment about it. He's complaining about people complaining primarily because they have other LEDs to compare it to. If it was only LED, there wouldn't be so much issues. I think there might be the same. People like to complain more than they like to say positive things, which is part of that's in human nature. I'm not blaming anything specific.
It is human. I mean, if you're in a house and your neighbor has drives in with a fancier car or something. You're like, oh, why can't I have a fancy car? It's people like to compare, even though you might
Yes,
not have even wanted a fancy car until you saw it. Suddenly you get
absolutely.
jealous.
So Raymond said he's updated all that stuff, so that's cool. Premiere would take all 128 gigabytes of RAM from the Mac Studio. That's memory hog software. I don't
Yeah,
know. Do
and
you have
I think
Premiere?
it. No, I have After Effects currently only because I have a job for this California company where I need their fonts.
Sure.
They won't buy fonts. You need the Adobe fonts. I think it uses all 128 gigabytes just to launch After Effects for that 2 minutes while I'm watching the icon bounce. In that amount of time, I could have probably done half the work in motion. So,
Right.
and I'm not even really exaggerating. Like it's absurd. So.
Right. So when we talked to the Final Cut Pro team at the Creative Summit, there's not many motion questions, if I recall correctly, for the most part. I mean, mostly it's dominated by Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are some motion. I think Jen Jager, Mark Spencer, obviously.
Right.
There are a handful of people that cover motion, but the big draw is Final Cut. I mean, it is called the Final Cut Creative Summit. I think if motion, and again, I said this before, now that everybody who subscribes to Creator Studio has motion, I think automatically they're going to be like, well, what is this? What is this thing? What does this do? Why am I paying for it? So I think more
Right.
people will be curious about it. That's my hope. And then I hope that also makes the team kind of realize like we kind of let this thing languish for like 15 years. We haven't really brought much to it. Maybe we could add a few things and get more people into it, and more people would use it and talk about it. And like everything you do to motion benefits Final Cut Pro, really, in most ways.
Yes. Right.
So it just makes sense to me. For example, they gave us rigging and publishing, which I do all the time. It's fantastic. Could use a few tweaks here and there, but it's great. But we can get stuff from motion to Final Cut pretty easily. We can't get anything from Final Cut to motion at all. And I wouldn't suggest, the missing send to motion feature. I'm not saying we should just bring that back exactly the way it was, but I'm going to keep holding the team to this marketing term that they keep using lately, which is this interoperability. Like, let these apps communicate with each other.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I got to do that. All right. So I started a new Facebook group for Apple Creator Studio. And we surpassed 900 members this morning in like 2 weeks, where we'll hit 1,000 by the first of the week, which is really, really cool. And it's going to be mostly Final Cut, but any of the apps, if you have questions. I mean, I don't know how much help you're going to get, but because I don't use I use Pixelmator Pro, I use Logic Pro, and I use Final Cut Pro mostly. And Keynote, I like Keynote a lot. I always have.
Mm-hmm.
I use that,
Yeah.
sometimes for making videos and stuff, just, with slideshows and stuff. So as predicted, the problem when you only have 3 major features in a Final Cut Pro update is all the YouTubers cover those same 3 features, all 3 of them. Now, one of the things that Steve Martin said he says, we're not doing these fluffy tutorials, something along those lines, which I really like, because they did do a deep dive for like 45 minutes on theirs, which that's usually the first place I go for tutorials. But I watch some of the other ones as well. I have, I'm friends with Jen Jager and the Final Cut Bro and Dylan Johns. I met the Final Cut Bro, Dylan Bates and Dylan Johns at NAB years ago. And I was leaving the convention center. They were coming in, and they yelled out to me, Richard Taylor, hey, what's going on? We talked. We met at that point. Back when that was the last time they had a super meet, because I saw them at the super meet too. But that was the super meet post-COVID, which was on the rooftop. It wasn't the real big super meet, but it was still cool to have. So I've known them ever since then. They liked my cat room. They mentioned they mentioned, yeah, do you like the cat rooms? I thought that was when I first started putting the cats on.
Somebody mentioned that motion is very great and quick for creating like lower thirds of Final Cut Pro, and the playback is incredible. That's true, but I think lower thirds are the least of what motion can do. I mean, I've used it for like 15 years to create full-on, several-minute-long motion graphics pieces. It's one of the things that bothers me about how little the team seems to pay attention to it, or at least the marketing team, because it's so capable. You can do so many cool things with it. It's not just like I want to create a plugin for Final Cut or a lower third or an animated title. Like you can
Right.
most of what most people need to do in After Effects, motion could do and probably do faster. Now,
Is that
if
right?
you want to be like, oh, for sure. And if you wanted to be like a full-time professional motion graphics artist, I would recommend learning motion, but definitely as a supplementary tool to After Effects. I mean,
Right. Right.
you're going to need After Effects for that. But how many people out of this whole audience, or the entire, 5 million, 6 million Final Cut users are full-time motion graphics artists? So for everybody
Not many.
else,
Yeah.
motion can do way more than you might ever think possible already. And yes, I wish things were tweaked and updated, but without any of that, you can already do amazing stuff with it. So I just wish
You
more
have
people-
you have to have patience with motion, because motion is another one of those complicated apps. It's complicated. It's more
Well,
complicated than Final Cut.
It's way easier than After Effects, though, I'll tell you that, because I use both. Almost all the time I use motion at this point. But it just simplifies things. You talked earlier about the complexity of the keyframe editor. If you don't want to, you don't have to keyframe anything. You just drop on something that's a behavior,
Behaviors.
and it basically does the work for you. And only after you've worked for a couple months or years, where you decide, I kind of want a little more control and finesse, well, then you can jump into keyframes, or you can convert behaviors into keyframes. I mean,
Right.
it's a pretty approachable app. I mean, it's basically, if you know how to use something like Photoshop or Pixelmator with layers and groups,
Right.
then you can
Right.
figure out
Right.
motion. It's the same thing.
Right. So here's a comment about color. When I use the color option, Final Cut Pro can no longer see the numbers from 0 to whatever when using the color table, but can see them when I'm crushing the blacks, so only a little annoying. So that might be what I saw about the color workflow. There's something that's a little quirky for people. Not complaining about Final Cut. I love it. I just wish it was a feature. Putting Rec 709 at the end of the color chain instead of the front makes a big difference in the final colors. I'm sure it does. Is that's an issue? You can't do it at the end? Rec 709?
Well, currently, like, a lot of times when you import media, right, it'll flag that media, and in the inspector, it'll apply a LUT. But that LUT, depending on what you do afterwards, could be in the completely wrong processing order. So what I wish they would do is apply that, put it in the inspector, but put it at the top of the video pane. That way, you can just keep adding your effects, and you can rearrange it right there.
Okay. Yes.
So like they don't need to change the coding of the app or the processing or anything. All you have to do is put it here instead of on this tab, and then problem solved. So
I see. Wow, I never knew that motion was that powerful. Apple needs to promote it more, like with some tutorials on their website or something. I think Apple just lets YouTubers promote their stuff, with the exception of...
And that's fine. Yeah, and there's plenty of motion tutorials out there and people who are good at it. But
Oh, yes.
you have to know to look for it in order to find it. Final Cut, you can just type up video editing, and you're going to see Final Cut, Premiere, and Resolve. But motion graphics, you're going to get After Effects mostly. And maybe way down the list, what people would have given up before they got there, is some motion stuff. So unless you're already in like the Apple community, you're not even going to find the motion content. So that's disappointing.
So before the Creative Summit in 2024, Apple did a promotion for Final Cut Pro. That was our friend Bill Davis did that. Remember? They did promotional videos. I'm like, wow, this is fantastic, but nothing since then. It's been nothing from Apple.
That gave me a ray of hope at the time. Because
me too.
I think letting people like Mark Spencer and Jen Jager do their content and kind of do their sort of marketing and training for them is a good thing, because they have built-in audiences. They're personable. We like them. We like their content. Like it helps kind of foster that relationship between the company that makes the product and the users of the product. But Apple themselves doing even just those few tutorials, it just sends a message that they care. And it might be silly. I mean, obviously they care. They still make the app, but
Right.
It was a good sign. It was reassuring, and it's weird that they stopped doing that. Plus, Bill Davis is awesome. So
yeah, it was weird that they did it to me. I mean, after not doing it all these years, and all of a sudden they stuck one in there. Now, here's the thing about Jen Jager and Mark Spencer and everybody else, the Final Cut Pro that do tutorials. Black Magic has people, great people doing tutorials, but they also do their own. And they also do their own. So there's room for both. There's room for both. I mean, Apple, I think, should be doing some tutorials on their own as well. Or more than just promotion. I mean, tutorials. Do some tutorials.
Yeah.
That would be nice because it works that way. So one of the things, go ahead.
I would be content even with just the promotion. Even if we just had that, I'd be happy.
One of the things that I got a big kick out of, and when I went to NAB in 2024, didn't go in 2025, is I got to interview Black Magic, the CEO.
Grant Petty?
Grant Petty. So that was very, very cool. I'm going to try to do that again. I know when he's out on the floor talking to people, and I just wait my turn and just, okay, come on over here and talk for a couple minutes. Instead, I will set up a tripod, and hopefully I can do that again if I go this year.
I just got a 2% battery on my laptop, and I don't have a charger near me, so I might be dead soon.
Okay.
Just so you know, it won't be me rudely hanging up on you. It'll be my Mac rudely hanging up on you.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. We had some other people on before, and I always want to get you on as well, so that's why I had you on by yourself. It's funny to talk about. Those. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, as always.
I'll let you go, and hopefully we'll be hearing about the Creative Summit shortly. Hopefully in February. Yeah. Come on. I mean, spring is technically March the 20th, which is my birthday, but astrological spring or meteorological, whatever one, is March the 1st. So there's two different springs it can be. So, all right, Gabe, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it as usual.
Yeah. Everyone, and thanks for joining us.
Talk to you again.
All right. Thank you. This thing will...
There we go. So that's very, very cool. We have a friend Gabe on. Gabe's always very pleasant to talk to, and he has a lot of knowledge about different things. He's into motion as well. So the speed of playback and motion is so much better than AE, often real time with no rendering. Kind of late, but good to see Richard having a guest. Absolutely. We have guests sometimes. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So that's very cool. So I'm going to bring this up while I got everybody here. Let me see here. Let's do this. So this is our new Apple. This is the Apple Creator Studio community over there on Facebook. And we got 910 members. We'll probably hit 1,000 members by the first of the week, which is really cool. We've only been around for 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. So if you want to join in there, it's facebook.com/groups. I'm going to copy that and bring it up here as a title. Let's do this. Oh, I don't want another one of those. What did I do that for? Take that off. I meant to hit the T and then do this. Let's do that. Apple Creator Studio. Add. There we go. And I'm going to put that over on my main thing. So it's Apple Creator Facebook.com/groups, Apple Creator Studio. And you can join that group. Like I said, we got 910 members so far. And we'll hit 1,000 by the first of the week. 1,000 by the first of the week, I think. So there we go. I'll leave that up there. Apple Creator Studio. So this is I like this. Settle on Final Cutters. I like that. I think that's what, does everybody like that? This will describe people who watch this show, the Final Cutters. I like short, names. This is called Final Cut TV. So Final Cutters, I think, would be appropriate to call you all that watch the show. Plus me, I'm a Final Cutter as well. I'm here all the time. I like it. What do you think? We'll let everybody decide as a group on this one. But I like it. So the final cutters are what we'll call ourselves at this point. Let me just pull that up. Edit text. Let's do this. Save. Now, why isn't that letting me? There we go. I like it. Final cutters. It describes us. So people say, "What, you belong to a group?" Yeah, we're the Final Cutters. Final Creator Studio. Well, it's called Apple Creator Studio. That would get people confusing, I think. So I think at this point, I like Final Cutters. That's my favorite. Let me see if these are working yet. Nope. I'll have to figure out what's going on with my thumbs up. Thumbs up. We're a lot of people watching today. Everybody, thank you very much for coming in. As usual, I can take this out now. I don't need that anymore. Hear myself. Put it in my pocket there. That's just for the guests, so I can hear the guests without creating echo coming back into the system. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We went long today. We had our friend Gabriel on. We'll have other people on too as well. If you want to come on, let me know. We'll see if we can make arrangements. We can do like two parts. I'll come on by myself first, get all the comments up, and then we'll bring a guest on. We got some guests we're going to bring on in the future, especially as we lead up to Final Cut Creative Summit, which should be coming up. We should be hopefully hearing an announcement shortly. We'll have to wait and see, but hopefully it'll be. I don't want it to be April the 20th, at the end of April, the week after NAB, because I'm doing a screening here in Maryland of my film documentary. It's the third time or fourth time? Fourth time. Here's Gabe. Thanks for having me on, Richard. Absolutely. We should have a group call soon. We will, as we get closer to the Creative Summit. And anything else going on. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Go join the Facebook group here. This one. Facebook.com groups, Apple Creator Studio. And you can join our group. Get us up to 1,000. All right. How about that? We're going to keep that on there. So, as you know, don't forget to subscribe over there in the YouTube channel. And if you want to say, hey, where are we now? Here's our Facebook group. That's the Creator Studio. What is this one? No, that's the same. We also have, here's the YouTube channel right here, YouTube at Richard Taylor TV. Fantastic. Turn that off and bring up another comment before we leave. Good night, Richard from Austria. Very, very cool. Very cool. Daniel says, Final Cutters Users Group. Well, users group is kind of an old-fashioned kind of a term. So I don't use that. I think community is better. I think the community is better. So, but anyway, I'm going to call you guys the Final Cutters, and me included in that group, the Final Cutters, because this is Final Cut TV. Now, one of the other things is, let me know if you want me to go to NAB this year and cover whatever Apple's doing with the Final Cut Pro track. Let me know if you want me to go to the NAB. I'm thinking about it, depending on when the Creative Summit is. So If the both of them are close together, I don't think I would go to both. But if the Creative Summit is like May, say the end of May before WWDC, that would be cool. They could have a new update to Final Cut Pro with new features at that point. That would make sense. Final Cutters Community, FCC. We already went through that with the FCC. But just the Final Cutters, I think, is fine. I think that works. I'm going to get out of here. We've been on for almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. This is a good time. We'll be back next Saturday at 10 o'clock if nothing changes. Today, I lost power. At 8 o'clock, I had to go generator power, but it came back on just for our live stream, I'm sure. I'm going to get out of here, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Final Cutters. I'll see you later.